He risked his life to protect her, and the alien queen said, "My daughter belongs to you, human." Alarms meant doors sealing. Alarms meant screams over comms. Alarms meant the thin line between going home and becoming another name on a memorial wall. On the ash moon Kaler, the alarms never really stopped. The moon hung under a bruised sky, half-lit by a distant gas giant. Its surface was a broken land of black dust and cracked stone, cut by old impact scars and new trenches from a war that refused to end. The air outside was poison thin and bitter with metal. Inside a helmet, the world sounded like breath and heartbeats and the steady whisper of a suit keeping a person alive. Elias moved low across the rocks with his squad behind him, their boots making small puffs of gray dust. "Visual on the Hive Ridge," Sergeant Mako said. His voice was calm, the kind of calm soldiers learned because panic wasted oxygen. Elias lifted his scope. There was the Varelian forward hive, a living fortress grown from flesh and bone like plates. It clung to the ridge like a parasite, pulsing faintly, as if the whole structure was breathing. Vents opened and closed along its sides. Spines curved outward like thorns. It looked less like a building and more like a creature that had decided to become a home for monsters. Monsters. That was what people called the Varelians. Tall, fast, and silent when they wanted to be. Their drones were worse. Mindless warforms made for killing, born in vats and taught nothing but hunger. 6 years of war had turned the word Varelian into a warning parents used to scare children at night. Elias did not like the word monster, but he understood why it existed. He had seen too much. Same plan. Elias said, "We go in. We plant charges in the core chamber. We leave. No hero stuff." "Sir, you are literally the hero stuff," Corporal Dree muttered. Elias ignored it. He checked the timer on his wrist, and the small pack of shaped charges strapped to his thigh. Their mission was simple because simple missions were the only ones that survived contact with reality. A storm of static passed through their comms as the hive's interference reached out, like a hand trying to crush their signals. Elias tapped his throat mic twice. "Comms check." "Loud enough," Mako answered. "Barely," Dree said. "Still here." The last voice said, "Private Sato, youngest of them, trying to sound older than he was." Elias gave a short nod. "Move." They descended into a shallow ravine and reached the hive's outer wall. Up close it was worse. The surface was not stone or metal. It was layered tissue, hardened in places, soft in others, threaded with veins of faint blue light. It smelled like hot rain and old blood, even through filters. Dree pulled a compact cutter from her pack. Its tip glowed white. She pressed it to the wall and began to slice a clean circle. The hive shivered under the heat as if it felt pain. Elias watched the darkness above, searching for movement. Varelian scouts could cling to ceilings and walls like spiders. They hunted in silence and killed quickly. If one of them was watching, the squad would never know until the first body hit the ground. The circle fell inward with a wet sound. Warm air rushed out. "Holes ready," Dree said. Elias went first. Inside, the hive swallowed light. Their suit lamps cut thin tunnels through fleshy corridors. The walls curved like ribs. The floor was slick but solid, formed from some kind of organic resin. Soft pulses traveled along the veins, like the building was thinking. Every step felt like walking inside something that should not be alive. "Core chambers below," Mako whispered, following the map on his display. 2 levels down. Elias kept his weapon up. Human rifles looked small in here, like sticks in a lion's den. But they were all he had, and he trusted them more than luck. They moved through a split corridor. Elias chose left. The air grew warmer. The hive's pulse seemed to speed up, as if it sensed them. Something clicked above. Elias stopped instantly. He raised a fist. The squad froze. A shape unfolded from the ceiling. Thin limbs, armored plates, a narrow head with dark eyes. A Varelian sentry. It clung upside down, staring at them like an insect staring at prey. The sentry did not attack. It tilted its head as if listening. Then it hissed a signal. Elias shot it before the sound finished. The sentry dropped, twitching. Its blood was not red. It was pale and shimmering like liquid moonlight. "All right," Elias said, voice tight. No more quiet. Mako cursed softly. We're burned. They ran. The hive reacted like a living alarm system. Openings in the walls flexed and closed. Far away, a deep, vibrating sound rolled through the structure, an alarm that was not noise but pressure, felt in bones. Elias led them down a slope into the next level. Here the corridors widened into chambers filled with strange shapes. Cocoons hanging like lanterns, pools of thick liquid, racks of armor plates being grown like fruit. Keep moving, Elias said. A drone burst from a side tunnel. It was huge, four-armed with blade-like claws. It screamed without a mouth, a sound that hurt through the helmet. Elias fired 3 rounds into its chest. The drone did not slow. Mako stepped forward and slammed the shock baton into its neck joint. Electricity arced. The drone convulsed and collapsed. Dree stared at it, breathing fast. They're closer than usual. They know we're here, Elias said. They're calling everything. Sato's voice shook. Sir, how many? Elias did not answer. He did not know. In a hive, how many was a useless question. It could be 10. It could be 100. It could be the whole moon. They reached a junction where the map said they should turn right. But the right corridor was blocked. Not by a door, by new growth. A thick wall of flesh had surged up like a dam, sealing the passage. It glistened and pulsed, still forming. The hive's cutting routes, Mako said. It's learning. Elias felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Left, then. Find another route. They turned left into a tunnel that narrowed and bent downward. The air became damp. The walls changed texture, smoother, lined with small nodules that twitched when their lights passed. Dree grimaced. I hate this place. Everyone hates this place, Elias said. That's why we're here. The tunnel opened into a chamber that made them all slow down. It was quiet, too quiet. In the center of the chamber stood a containment pod, an oval structure grown from translucent tissue, reinforced with hard ribs. Inside, floating in a pale fluid, was a figure. Not a drone, not a soldier, a young Varelian. She was slender compared to the war forms, her armor plate smaller, shaped like delicate scales. Glowing markings traced her arms and throat in patterns that looked almost like jewelry. Her eyes were closed. Thin lines, organic tubes, connected her to the pod like veins. Elias stared, unable to stop. Is that a prisoner? Sato whispered. Mako shook his head slowly. Varelians don't take prisoners. Dree stepped closer, her lamp shining through the pod. That's not a drone. That's different. Elias's mind raced. Why would the enemy keep one of their own in a tank like this? Why hide it deep in a forward hive? He moved closer, studying the markings. They were too clean, too precise. Royal. His memory flashed back to briefings, grainy images of Varelian leaders, rare and protected, seen only in distant scans. The markings matched. Elias swallowed hard. That's not just different. What is it? Dree asked. Elias looked at her. I think it's a princess. The word hung in the air like a broken law of nature. Sato stared. They have princesses? Everything has leaders, Elias said. Even monsters. The girl, princess, stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. They were not black like the centuries. They were a deep, bright silver, full of fear. She pressed a hand against the inside of the pod. Her fingers splayed, trembling. Her mouth opened, and her voice came out weak, more like a breath than a sound. But Elias's suit translator caught fragments. Not them help. Dree's eyes widened. It's speaking. Mako's voice turned sharp. Sir, we need to go. Core chamber. Charges. Now. Elias knew Mako was right. He knew it as sure as he knew gravity. Their mission could save hundreds of human lives. This hive fed attacks on nearby colonies. Destroying it would change the whole front. But the girl in the pod was not attacking anyone. She was trapped, her gaze locked onto Elias, and something in it made his chest tighten. Not hatred, not hunger, just terror. A door on the far side of the chamber opened with a wet tear. 3 Varelian guardians entered, taller and heavier than the drones. Their armor plates were thick and jagged. Their eyes were dark. Their weapons were grown into their arms, blades unfolding like nightmares. They saw the humans. They saw Elias standing between them and the pod. One guardian hissed, and the translator spiked. Thief. Trespasser. Die. Mako raised his rifle. Sir, orders. Elias had a heartbeat to choose. Mission, or the life inside that pod. He could still do both, his mind whispered. He could plant charges and run. The princess was not his problem. He could leave her, and no one would blame him, except himself. Elias stepped forward, placed his body directly in front of the containment pod. All right, he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. No hero stuff, huh? Then he lifted his rifle and aimed at the approaching guardians. Ward. Mako snapped, disbelief in his voice. What are you doing? Elias did not look back. Cover me. Dree's voice cracked. Captain, we can't carry an alien princess out of a hive. Elias fired the first shot. The chamber exploded into violence. Rounds struck armor plates and sparked. A guardian lunged, blades slicing through the air. Elias ducked and rolled, firing upward into its throat joint. The guardian stumbled, snarling, and slammed into the wall hard enough to shake the pod. Mako and Dree opened fire, but there were too many angles, too much movement. The hive itself seemed to assist its defenders, sending pulses that made lights flicker. Sato screamed as another drone appeared behind them. Elias shot it, without turning fully, trusting sound and instinct. The drone collapsed at Sato's feet, twitching. Move! Elias shouted, get the pod open. Dree stared at him like he had lost his mind. Then she swore and ran to the pod's control tissue, pressing her cutter into the seam. The princess inside watched Elias fight. Her hand stayed against the wall. The guardians kept coming. Elias felt the burn of adrenaline, the heavy pull of gravity, the sharp warning lights on his HUD, showing his suit taking damage. He was one man in a living enemy fortress, choosing to defend the enemy's air. And he did not even fully understand why. He only knew he could not walk away. Dree's cutter hissed. The pod began to split. The princess's eyes widened. Outside the chamber, deeper in the hive, the alarms changed pitch. Not just intruder, not just kill. This was the sound of something bigger waking up, something important. Elias heard it and knew, in his bones, that the hive had sent a message that would bring the full weight of the swarm down on this chamber. He tightened his grip on the rifle, standing between the princess and the darkness. The pod seemed open with a wet crack, and the first scream of the approaching war host echoed through the tunnels. The pod split open with a sharp, wet sound. Cold vapor spilled across the floor. Captain Elias Ward stepped forward without thinking. The alien princess fell out of the broken chamber, weak and shaking. He caught her before she hit the ground. She was lighter than he expected. Her skin felt warm even through his armored gloves. The glowing patterns along her arms flickered like fading lights. Behind him, Sergeant Mako shouted, Captain, we have incoming from both sides. The hive was screaming now. The deep vibration in the walls had changed. It was no longer just an alarm. It was a call. Elias looked down at the princess. Up close, she did not look like a monster. Her face was sharp and different, yes, but her expression was clear. Fear, confusion, pain. Her silver eyes locked onto his visor. Why? She whispered. The translator struggled, but caught enough. Why defend me? Elias did not have time to explain something he barely understood himself. Later, he muttered, We move now. He lifted her into his arms. She stiffened at first, surprised. Then her clawed hand gripped weakly at his shoulder plate. Dree ran back toward them. We can't hold this chamber. They're swarming. A guardian crashed through the far doorway. Another dropped from the ceiling. Their armor glowed faintly with war signals. Mako fire control burst, aiming for joints. Extraction point is 2 levels up. We'll never make it carrying. We're making it. Elias cut in. There was no debate in his voice. He turned and ran. The tunnel ahead twisted sharply. The hive's inner walls shifted as if trying to trap them. New growths pushed from the floor. Pathways narrowed. It's reshaping. Sato yelled. Then we run faster. Dree snapped back. Elias adjusted his grip on the princess. She was conscious now, barely. Her breathing was shallow. The tubes that once connected her to the pod had left faint marks on her skin. "What did they do to you?" he asked quietly. Her eyes flickered. "Protection from them." "From who?" She did not answer. A drone lunged from the side corridor. Elias twisted his body, shielding her as he fired. The blast knocked the creature back. Acidic blood splashed against the wall, but did not touch them. Mako dropped another drone behind them, but more shapes filled the tunnel ahead. "Too many." "Captain," Mako shouted. "We're boxed." Elias slowed. 3 guardians blocked the main path. Behind them, more drones poured in like living shadows. He scanned quickly. To the right was a narrow maintenance vent, barely wide enough for one armored human, not wide enough for a full squad, and definitely not meant for escape. Elias made a decision instantly. Mako, Dree, Sato, fall back to the ridge extraction point. Mako froze. "What?" "You heard me. We don't split in a hive." "We do today," Elias said. The princess stirred in his arms, listening. "I'll draw them," Elias continued. "You plant charges if you can. If not, abort mission and get home." Dree shook her head. "Sir, that's suicide." "Maybe." The guardians began advancing slowly, confident. Elias met Mako's eyes through the visor. "That's an order." There was a long second of silence. Then Mako cursed under his breath. "You always pick the hard way." "Go," Elias said. The squad turned and ran down the side passage, firing as they retreated. The guardians shifted focus, confused by the split. That hesitation was enough. Elias sprinted toward the narrow vent and dove inside. The tunnel scraped against his armor. He barely fit. The princess's glowing markings brushed against the living walls, causing faint pulses of light. Behind him, claws scraped at the entrance. A guardian tried to follow, but was too large. It roared in frustration. Elias crawled forward, heart pounding. The vent sloped downward. "Where are you taking me?" the princess asked softly. "Anywhere not here," he replied. "You should have left me." "Not my style." "You are enemy." "Yeah," he said. "I notice." Silence followed. The tunnel opened into a lower chamber. This one was different. The walls were smoother, lined with strange symbols grown into the surface. A central column pulsed with stronger light. Elias stepped carefully onto the floor. The princess looked around in shock. "No," she whispered. "What?" "This is sacred." "Good," Elias said. "Maybe they won't blow it up." A tremor shook the chamber. The hive knew exactly where they were. The main doorway sealed shut, with a thick organic barrier. Another door on the far side opened slowly. More guardians entered, but these were different. Their armor bore glowing sigils. Their posture was controlled. They did not rush. They studied Elias. The princess slid from his arms and stood on her own feet, though she swayed slightly. One of the guardians spoke in sharp tones. The translator struggled, then formed words. "Return the air. Human will be terminated." "Air." Elias glanced at her. "Air." She did not look at him. Instead, she stepped forward. "I command you," she said in her own language. The guardians froze. Elias blinked. Her voice was no longer weak. It was steady, bright. "I am Karine of the First Brood," she continued, "daughter of the Queen." The chamber seemed to react to her words. The central column flared brighter. The guardians lowered their weapons slightly, but did not kneel. "You were placed in protection," one guardian said. "Human infiltration proves necessity." Karine turned slowly toward Elias. "They locked me away," she said softly in broken but clear translated speech. "Not for protection." "For what, then?" "For control." The air felt heavy. "They fear change," she continued. "They fear the war ending." Elias did not understand everything, but he understood power struggles. Humans had those too. Footsteps echoed behind the guardians. A larger presence entered. Taller, wider. Its armor shimmered with deep violet light. Elias felt something ancient in the air. The newcomer spoke, One word that made even the Guardian step back. Silence. The translator caught it clearly. The large figure studied Elias. Then Karine. Then the broken tubes still attached to her arms. You remove her containment, it said. Yes, Elias replied. You violate sacred ground. Yes. You carry enemy air through war zone. Yes. The figure tilted its head. Why? Elias hesitated. He could say strategy. He could lie. But he was too tired for that. She asked for help. The chamber went completely still. Even the hive's pulse seemed to slow. Karine looked at him in surprise. The large figure stepped closer. Human soldiers destroy cities. Human fleets burn brood nests. Yet you abandoned mission objective for one life. Elias did not lower his weapon. She's not a weapon. She's a person. A sharp hiss moved through the Guardians. The word confused them. Person. The large figure repeated. Yes. Karine stepped forward again. He fought his own kind protect me, she said. He stands against you now. The figure studied her. Your survival destabilizes internal balance. I know, Karine answered. Elias glanced between them. Anyone want to explain what's happening? Karine spoke quietly. Some broods wish the war to continue. War brings power. Fear brings obedience. And you? I seek different future. The large figure's gaze sharpened. You speak rebellion. I speak truth. Tension filled the chamber, like a storm about to break. Then distant explosions shook the hive. Elias's eyes widened. That's my team, he whispered. Another tremor followed. Stronger. Mako had planted the charges after all. The hive's walls rippled violently. Emergency lights flashed deep red. The large figure turned its head toward the vibrations. Human, it said slowly. Your forces attempt destruction. They're soldiers, Elias replied. They finish missions. And you do not? Elias looked at Karine. I made a different choice. The chamber ceiling cracked slightly as structural damage spread. The large figure stepped back. Evacuate the air, it ordered the Guardians. None moved. They looked uncertain. Karine lifted her chin. I invoke shield bearer right, she declared. The words echoed unnaturally. The translator struggled, but delivered the meaning clearly. Life debt, Bond acknowledged. The Guardians reacted instantly. Several dropped to one knee. Elias stared at her. What did you just do? She met his eyes. I bind my life to yours. That sounds serious. It is ancient law, she said. If you fall, I fall. If I fall, your species bears my death. Elias blinked. Wait, what? The large figure's expression changed slightly. You bind enemy to royal blood, it said carefully. He saved me, Karine answered. Freely, without gain. Another explosion rocked the hive. Cracks spread across the walls. Outside the chamber, drones screeched in confusion. The large figure seemed to calculate something invisible. Finally it spoke. Human Captain Elias Ward. Elias stiffened at hearing his name. We will not kill you. That's appreciated, Elias said cautiously. You and the air will be transported. To where? Before the Queen. The chamber lights brightened suddenly. Energy wrapped around Elias and Karine like invisible chains. He tried to move but could not. Karine did not resist. Do not struggle, she whispered. The last thing Elias saw before everything dissolved into white light was a hive collapsing inward as charges detonated deep in its core. Then the world vanished. Silence followed. When vision returned, Elias was no longer inside a damaged hive. He stood on a vast platform of smooth living crystal. Above him stretched a ceiling like a night sky filled with glowing stars. Rows of towering Varelians lined the chamber. And at the far end, elevated on a throne grown from radiant organic stone, sat something immense, ancient, powerful, watching him with endless eyes. Karine stepped forward. My mother, she said softly. The queen of the Varelian swarm leaned slightly closer. The entire chamber trembled under her presence. And for the first time since the war began, a single human soldier stood alive in the heart of the enemy empire, not as a prisoner, not yet as an ally. but as something far more dangerous. A question. Captain Elias Ward had faced artillery fire, orbital strikes, and charging warforms. None of it felt like this. The Varelian throne hall was massive. The floor beneath his boots looked like polished crystal, but it pulsed faintly with living light. Tall pillars curved upward like the ribs of some giant creature. Between them stood rows of Varelian nobles and high commanders, their armor glowing in different colors that marked their broods. At the far end, elevated above all of them, was the queen. She was enormous. Her form was not like the soldiers Elias had fought. She was layered in luminous plates that shimmered like stars underwater. Multiple thin tendrils moved slowly around her throne, touching the living structure as if she was connected to the entire world. Her eyes, many of them, focused on him. Elias felt very small, but he did not kneel. Karine stood beside him, straight back despite her recent weakness. The glowing patterns along her arms were steady now. The queen spoke. Her voice was not loud, but it carried everywhere. Human Captain Elias Ward. The translator in his helmet worked carefully, shaping each word. You stand within the heart of the swarm. Elias kept his tone respectful. I can see that. A faint ripple passed through the court. It might have been surprise. It might have been amusement. With Varelians, it was hard to tell. You entered sacred hive space. The queen continued. You destroyed royal property. You terminated my warriors. Yes, Elias said. And yet, she said slowly, you carry my daughter at your side. All eyes shifted toward Karine. Karine stepped forward. I invoke shield bearer right, she said clearly. A wave of low, vibrating sound spread through the chamber. It was not anger. It was shock. The queen's upper eyes narrowed slightly. You bind yourself to a human soldier, the queen said. An enemy? He is more than enemy, Karine replied. He chose to protect me when he had no reason to. A tall Varelian commander stepped forward from the left row. His armor burned deep red. He infiltrated our hive, the commander said sharply. His kind burns our brood nests. This is deception. Elias did not look away from the queen. If I wanted her dead, she'd be dead. The red-armored commander hissed loudly. You threaten the air inside this chamber? I'm stating facts, Elias answered calmly. I broke her out. I carried her. I could have left her. Karine's gaze flickered toward him for a moment. The queen raised one massive limb slightly. Silence returned instantly. You will explain. The queen commanded Elias. Why abandon military objective? Elias took a slow breath. He was standing in the middle of the enemy's empire. One wrong word could end him, but he had never been good at politics. We were sent to destroy the hive, he said. It feeds attacks on human colonies. We lost people because of it. Murmurs moved through the court. I found her in a containment pod, he continued. She wasn't fighting. She wasn't commanding. She was trapped. The red-armored commander interrupted. Contain for security. Karine turned sharply. Contain for silence. The chamber grew tense again. Elias looked between them. I don't know your politics, he said. I don't care. I saw someone who needed help. And that is reason? The queen asked. Yes. The word echoed in the quiet hall. The queen studied him deeply. Humans fight without unity mind, she said. You do not share thought. You are separate. That's true. You are capable of self-preservation instinct, survival above all. Also true. And yet you risk termination for foreign life form. Elias gave a small shrug. We're complicated. Several Varelians shifted at that. The queen leaned slightly forward. Complicated, she repeated. Karine spoke again. Mother, internal brood conflicts placed me in that pod. I was not protected. I was removed. The red-armored commander stiffened. You accuse high broods of treason? I accuse them of fear, Karine answered. The chamber lights dimmed slightly, responding to rising tension. The queen's tendrils tightened against her throne. State your claim clearly. The queen commanded her daughter. Karine did not hesitate. Certain broods seek endless war, she said. War strengthens their command. War hides their corruption. My voice within the council threatened that balance. A deep vibration rolled through the chamber. Elias slowly realized something important. This was not just about him. This was about power. The red armored commander stepped forward again. "These are unstable accusations from a recently freed heir," he said. "The human's presence influences her judgment." Karine's silver eyes flashed. "My judgment is clear." The commander turned toward Elias. "This human infiltrated royal space during containment event. Convenient timing." Elias narrowed his eyes. "You think I planned your civil drama? You are enemy strategist." "I'm a field captain," Elias replied. "I don't even plan my own lunch." A faint ripple passed through the chamber again. The queen raised her limb once more. "Enough!" Instant silence. She turned her many eyes toward the red-armored commander. "Were you aware of air containment parameters?" The commander hesitated. "Containment was approved under council majority." "That is not the question," the queen said calmly. The commander's armor dimmed slightly. "I was aware," he admitted. The chamber reacted. Karine stepped forward, voice strong. "You told the council I was vulnerable, that I required isolation. You cut my access to external advisors." "For safety," he insisted. "For silence," she repeated. Elias watched carefully. He had seen this before. Different species, same pattern. Power pretending to be protection. The queen's gaze shifted between them. "You feared her influence," she said to the commander. "I feared instability," he answered. "You feared loss of control." The commander did not respond. The silence was answer enough. The queen slowly rose from her throne. The movement alone caused the floor to vibrate. Every Varelian in the chamber lowered their heads slightly. "War has defined our evolution," the queen said. "Conflict shaped the swarm." Her voice carried deep authority. But stagnation hides within endless battle. She turned her primary eyes back to Elias. "This human is proof." Elias blinked. "Proof of what?" "That strength may exist without domination." The chamber stirred uneasily. The queen continued. "He entered hive space with intent to destroy. Yet when faced with vulnerable life, he altered course." "He endangered the mission," the red commander snapped. "He demonstrated choice," the queen corrected. She looked at Elias again. "You knew saving her would reduce your success probability." "Yes." "You knew termination likely." "Yes." "And still you chose protection." "Yes." The queen's tendrils shimmered brighter. "Explain," she demanded. Elias paused. He searched for the right words. Simple words. "She was scared," he said finally. That was enough. No grand speech. No strategy. Just truth. The chamber felt different after that. Quieter. Karine looked at him with something new in her expression. Not fear. Not confusion. Understanding. The queen slowly settled back onto her throne. "Swarm doctrine values survival as strongest," she said. "Human action introduces alternate strength, protection without obligation." The red-armored commander lowered his gaze further. "This destabilizes tradition," he warned. "Tradition that breeds corruption must be destabilized," the queen replied calmly. A ripple of tension passed through the court. Then the queen made her decision. "Captain Elias Ward," she said. Elias straightened slightly. "You terminated warriors of the swarm. You infiltrated sacred hive. These actions demand response." He nodded once. "Understood." "But," she continued, "you preserved royal bloodline without knowledge of status. You acted without expectation of reward." She paused. The entire chamber waited. "I declare life debt acknowledged." A collective vibration moved through the Varelians. The queen's voice deepened. "My daughter's bond is recognized by the throne." The red-armored commander stiffened sharply. "You elevate human?" he demanded. The queen's eyes flashed with warning. "I elevate principle." She looked at Elias one final time. "Strength is not merely destruction. It is restraint. It is defense of the vulnerable. Today, the swarm has witnessed such strength." Elias felt the weight of the moment. He had expected execution. Instead, he was being studied like something rare. Karine stepped beside him again. Her voice was steady. "My life is bound to his by right." The queen's gaze softened slightly. "Then it shall be formalized." A shock moved through the chamber. Formalized. The word echoed in Elias's mind. He had a feeling that meant something big. Very big. The Queen's final words rolled across the throne hall. My daughter belongs to you, human. The chamber erupted in stunned vibration. Not ownership, not surrender, but alliance. Elias stared, stunned. Wait, he said quietly. What does that mean exactly? Karine looked at him. It means, she said softly, the war is no longer what was. The Red Armor commander stepped back, defeated for now. The Queen's many eyes watched Elias closely. You have altered more than a single life today, Captain Ward, she said. Elias felt the truth of that settle heavily in his chest. He had walked into a hive to destroy it. Instead, he had stepped into the center of an empire's turning point, and the galaxy would feel the consequences. The throne chamber did not quiet quickly. The Queen's words still echoed in the air like distant thunder. My daughter belongs to you, human. Captain Elias Ward stood frozen for a long second. Belongs? His soldier mind immediately searched for danger in that sentence. Beside him, Karine stood calm, her silver eyes focused forward. She did not look ashamed. She did not look forced. She looked certain. The Varelian court vibrated with layered whispers. Colors along their armor shifted rapidly. Shock, anger, disbelief. The Red Armor commander stepped forward again, his voice sharp. This will fracture the broods. The war defines us. The Queen did not raise her voice. Then we must redefine ourselves. Silence followed that statement. Elias finally found his own voice. With respect, I need clarification. Many alien eyes turned toward him. He swallowed but kept standing tall. What does belongs mean in your law? Karine answered before her mother could. It does not mean ownership, she said clearly. It means union of fate. Elias blinked. Union of fate? Yes, your survival and mine are now politically and legally connected. Harm to you becomes harm to the royal line. The meaning hit him like impact. You just made me untouchable. Karine tilted her head slightly. Within reason. A faint sound passed through the chamber that almost sounded like humor. The Queen spoke again. Human Captain Elias Ward, your species fights us with strength and fire, yet you showed restraint when no command required it. She leaned forward slightly. Such choice is rare. Rare things reshape evolution. Elias exhaled slowly. So what happens now? The Queen turned her attention to the gathered court. The war ceases. The words dropped like a weapon. The chamber erupted in protest. Impossible. Human fleets advance on outer systems. Retreat invites weakness. The Queen's tendril struck the throne platform once. The sound alone silenced them. We are not retreating, she said. We are transforming. Her gaze shifted to the Red Armor commander. Brood conflicts will be investigated. Corruption will be removed. The commander lowered his head deeply this time. He had lost. Elias watched all of it carefully. 6 years of brutal war. Cities burned. Ships shattered. Friends buried. And now, because of one decision inside a hive, everything was shifting. Karine turned to him quietly. You are uneasy. Yeah, he admitted. This is bigger than I planned. You did not plan any of this. Exactly. A sudden pulse of light filled the chamber. A projection formed above the central floor, a holographic image of space. Human fleets. Varelian fleets. Positions marked in red and blue. The Queen addressed the court. Transmit ceasefire signal to all active fleets. Immediate halt of hostile engagement. Elias's heart pounded. If this was real, human ships would receive that signal within minutes. Some commanders would think it was a trick. Some would fire anyway. Word did not stop easily. Karine looked at him. Your leaders must hear from you. Elias nodded slowly. I need communication access. The Queen gestured slightly. A small platform rose beside Elias. Organic structures formed around it, shaping into something like a console. Speak, she said. Elias removed his helmet slowly. The air inside the chamber felt different from the hive. Clean, controlled. He activated the console. Human frequencies opened. Static filled the air for a moment. Then, unknown signal detected. Source appears Varelian origin. Elias leaned closer. This is Captain Elias Ward. Authorization code Sierra 12-7. There was silence. Then a familiar voice burst through. Ward? That's impossible. We lost your signal after detonation. It was Admiral Renneck. Elias almost laughed from relief. Yeah, well, I'm somewhere unexpected. Report immediately. Are you captured? Elias glanced at Karine. At the Queen. At the moment, no. A pause. What does that mean, Captain? Elias chose his words carefully. I'm standing in the Varelian throne chamber. With the Queen, we need to stop all active fire. Complete silence filled the line. Then, that better be a joke. It's not. Movement rippled to the Varelian court as human and alien fleets hovered on the brink of decision. Elias continued. They've issued a ceasefire. It's real. This war can end today. The Admiral's voice lowered. Ward, if this is some kind of coercion. It's not, Elias said firmly. I made a call inside a hive. Things escalated. That's an understatement. Admiral, trust me. The word hung heavy. Trust was rare in war. Finally, the Admiral responded. Human fleets will hold fire for 12 minutes pending verification. After that, if any Varelian ship moves hostile, we respond. Elias looked toward the Queen. She nodded once. Transmit stand down command now. She ordered her own commanders. Across space, signals flashed. Weapons powered down. Target locks dissolved. Fighter wings paused mid-approach. For the first time in 6 years, the battlefield fell quiet. Inside the throne chamber, the holographic display shifted. Red and blue markers faded to neutral white. Karine exhaled slowly. It is done. Elias did not fully believe it yet. War leaves scars that do not vanish in minutes. But something real had changed. The Queen's attention returned to Elias. You will remain as honored guests while formal treaties are written. Guest, Elias repeated carefully. Yes. And if I say I'd like to go home first? Karine studied him. You may, she said softly, but you are now symbol. I never asked to be one. Neither did I, she replied. That made him smile faintly. The red armored commander spoke again, though more controlled now. What of external empires? They will see this alliance as weakness. The Queen's eyes darkened slightly. Then they misunderstand. She turned the projection outward, beyond known Varelian and human borders. Distant systems flash warning signals. Unknown fleets. Dark signatures emerging from deep space. Elias felt a chill. What is that? He asked. Karine's expression hardened. A threat older than both our species. The Queen's voice carried new weight. Our war-blinded U.S. But something else has been moving at the edge of mapped space. The projection zoomed in. Ships unlike anything Elias had seen. Sharp, angular, silent. They test borders, the Queen continued. They study weakness. Elias understood instantly. If they see us divided, they strike. Yes, Karine said. Elias looked at the Admiral's open channel. You seeing this? He asked. There was a long pause. Then the Admiral's voice returned, serious. We're detecting similar anomalies. The Queen spoke clearly. Alone, we weaken. United, we endure. Elias felt the weight of everything settle into place. He had thought saving one life was the entire story. It wasn't. It was the beginning. Karine stepped closer to him. Our bond was not only personal, she said quietly. It was strategic. You planned this, he asked. No, she answered honestly. But I understand it now. The Queen raised herself fully. Captain Elias Ward. Yes. You acted for mercy. That act reshaped empires. Elias looked around the vast chamber. He had walked into a hive ready to destroy. He now stood at the center of a new alliance. I just didn't want to leave someone behind, he said. Karine's silver eyes softened. That is why your species is dangerous. Dangerous? You fight fiercely, she said, but you also choose compassion. The Admiral's voice cut back in. Ward, Human High Command requests immediate diplomatic summit. Elias sighed softly. Of course they do. Karine looked at him. You will return to your people. Yeah, and you will come back. It was not a question. Elias thought of Earth, of soldiers still fighting, of families waiting. Then he looked at the alien princess who had once been his enemy. Yeah, he said, I will. The Queen lifted one final command. Prepare joint envoy fleet. The projection shifted again. Human ships and Varelian ships aligned side by side, not as enemies, as allies, far beyond their borders. The unknown fleet continued moving, but now it would not face a divided galaxy. Elias placed his helmet back on. He was still just a captain, still just one man. But sometimes one choice was enough. As transport energy began to surround him for return to human space, Karine stepped close and spoke softly. You did not save me because I was royal. No, he said. You saved me because I was afraid. He nodded. She held his gaze. Then know this, human. Her voice carried quiet strength. My future belongs beside yours. Light consumed him. The throne chamber faded. Across the stars, weapons remained silent. And for the first time in 6 years, humanity was not alone.